But there are people making plans to change America. They've no respect for her or what matters most to me. That's why I stand for the flag and I kneel at the cross. Mourn for the friends I have loved and lost. And I still believe with God we trust.
Welcome to EA Truth Radio, brought to you by EternalAffairsMedia.com. I am your host, Dan Hennon. Today is June 2nd, 2021, and our show will be about current events, specifically events from past week, items that made the news that shouldn't have, and items that were very newsworthy that didn't make the mainstream news. I'll be covering all this. Typically, our shows are 30 minutes long. This is a faith-based program. As always, we will start with a prayer. Father God, in the name of Yeshua Almighty the Christ, we humbly come before your throne and ask that you bless the airwaves and this show. Scramble all devices of the enemy and allow this show to go forth and reach millions. Thank you for giving us our audience, Lord. And please give them the ears to hear this message. Please be with each and every one of them, where they are, while they tune into our shows. Bless each and every one of them. Ultimately, may thy will be done. In Jesus' living, powerful, active, and matchless name, amen. The founder and publisher of Eternal Affairs Media, Curtis R. Bazzelli, is a loyal member of Patriot Mobile and encourages you to mention his name. Patriot Mobile is the only conservative mobile phone carrier that will meet all your calling, texting, and data needs. You can get up to $600 off your bill annually when you refer friends to Patriot Mobile. Join us and fight for your conservative values with each call you make on their nationwide cell phone network. Remember to mention Curtis R. Bazzelli when you sign up for service. Well, we'll cover the news here from the past week. Take a look at items that made the news and kind of strip out the fake news so you don't have to, and provide the news articles with the proper context to help the everyday listener understand what's going on. The Republican Governors Association dinner was held May 25th in Nashville. Mike Lindell was denied going in. Mike Lindell denied. He said he was uninvited. They didn't just let him in. He was actually invited. Then when he got to the door, he was turned away. So that made some news. That's very interesting. Mike Lindell, good guy, patriot. But we also have to keep in mind that the Republicans, including the Governors Association, there are still snakes in the governor's side. We know the Democrats are made up mainly of the deep state, but there are deep state critters on the Republican side as well. And they turned away Mike Lindell on May 25th. In Georgia, 950 sample ballots were received by the military. They did a sample of these and pulled 950 of them military ballots. Random. Pulled them, took a look at the votes. All voted for Biden. There wasn't a single Trump vote in there. So we've got to keep in mind when we talk about fake elections, hoaxes, things such as that nature. We all know that the 2020 election was fraudulent. But even when you pull a sample size like that, 950 military votes, they did a check. Everyone was for Biden. Now, we know that's not the case. That's actually not going to happen. You're going to have 60-40 split, maybe a 70-30 split. Heck, even an 80-20 split. A lot of those in the military actually are for Trump. So this random sample they pulled of 950 all went for Biden. So once again, just another excuse. More proof of the election. Individual named Brett William Shakespeare died last week. Died on May 25th, age 81. Now, we all remember him, the very first person ever to receive the COVID jab. Big spectacle. Press release was done. A conference was held with live cameras to show Britt William Shakespeare receiving his COVID vaccination jab. Does so at age 81. His family was so proud. He was so proud. And now, May 25th, they announced that he died. Could have been unrelated, but interesting nonetheless. Remember, people lined up to get the jab. But not many people did what this individual did and made a spectacle of it. Made it actually a news event to be the very first human on the planet to receive it. As we all know, any kind of shenanigans like this raises the antenna of those who start suspecting. Those like us who suspect, why would there be a public spectacle to receive the jab? Why would news cameras be there? Photographs plastered all over for someone receiving a vaccine. Very strange indeed. Now, those of us studying this know that the vaccine is actually worse than the virus itself. So please, personally, I urge everyone not to get it. This man received it and now died. A judge this week dismissed the indictment against Steve Bannon. This was May 25th. May 25th, Steve Bannon had an indictment against him. Now, we know he's another good guy. In the news, he's a bad guy. On the mainstream media, he's a bad guy. Much like Matt Gaetz, Roger Stone, Donald Trump, Mike Pence, Mike Lindell, General Flynn, and the others. Sidney Powell as well. Well, Steve Bannon, they went after him with this big indictment to go after him with some made-up things. A judge this week threw that out and dismissed it. Now, that's big news. The problem is that's not making the mainstream news. That's a pretty big story. A grand jury last week is trying to indict Trump himself, Donald Trump. Another indictment. People are calling this, what is this, impeachment number 3.0? He's out of office. He's not even a problem, according to the Dems. And they're still doing whatever they can to take him down. Something's up. That should be very suspicious to those of us following cases like this. Why there's so much hatred towards one man, trying to indict him. In Arizona, the Secretary of State found that they were interfering with the election audit taking place in Maricopa County. Now, there's an audit going on, an official audit in the state for the election audit. The Arizona Secretary of State begins interfering with it and gets pulled aside. So just this week, this person was stripped of all of their duties until the year 2023. Secretary of State, this is major news. This is the corruption. This is how deep the corruption goes. They'll do anything to stop the election recount and the audit. Now they busted. White hats were able to come in and strip the duties away from this person for 2 more years. I would call this pretty big news. Pretty big news indeed. Now, there was a video from Dr. Fauci that appeared from 2012 where he gives an opening statement in front of Congress, and he talks about the gain of function. Gain of function. Now, this is in complete opposite of what Dr. Fauci's talking about in today's world. Well, now this evidence surfaces of him giving an opening statement in front of Congress. Remember, Fauci's been around for 5 decades. He's been around since the AIDS epidemic. Any kind of nonsense in the medical world, National Institute of Health, Center for Disease Control, has got the corruption in these organizations, is Fauci fingerprints all over these things. So now he's talking about gain of function in 2021. Someone finds a video from 2012, 9 years ago, with them talking about the complete opposite focus on that. Well, guess what happens the day later? June 1st, an email dump of the Fauci emails. Over 3,000 emails from Dr. Fauci. Personal and professional emails were made public. And boy, the things that we're finding with these emails, I'm not going to go through all of them, but the Anons have already found many things. I'll give two examples. An email shows that in late February 2020, Dr. Fauci received an email alerting him that COVID was released, not accidentally escaped, but released from a lab in China. Dr. Fauci forwarded the email to a person at the National Institute of Health and the NIAID and told them to handle it. Quote, handle it, fix it. Email. If you get a chance to look at these emails, go to page 522 for this one. Actual email. It says that it was not accidentally escaped, but it was actually released on purpose. Second one, in mid-March 2020, Dr. Fauci received an email entitled Coronavirus Bioweapon Production Method, end quote, which supposedly included instructions of how COVID was created. Those of you out there with time in your hands, go to page 2286 for that one, 2286. As this one. Fauci's getting the backlash is growing from the June 1st dump. Now we're on June 2nd. They're already trying to find an expedited way to get him out of the public spotlight. And look for his firing or whatnot, hopefully criminal charges and a warrant for his arrest here in the upcoming days about what he's been the knowledge that he has and how he's tried to steer things in the wrong direction to keep the distraction at a possible wet market in Wuhan, possible bats, all this nonsense we've been hearing about for 2 years. The emails show that Fauci was well aware of what was going on here and how it was released on purpose. In Georgia, 30,000 fake ballots were found this week. 30,000 fake. Now, there shouldn't be a single fake ballot at all. This is what they're finding in Arizona. But remember, Georgia had huge issues with the election fraud. Now, several more affidavits were signed, sworn affidavits were filled out. This now makes 6 for the state of Georgia alone. 6 sworn affidavits are in for the Georgia election for 2020. Even one of those is enough for a legal lawsuit battle to prove that there was fraud involved. Georgia, by themselves, already has 6. The investigation into the origins of COVID in Wuhan, China, this investigation was shut down by President Biden this past week as well. They tried to open up an honest-to-goodness investigation into the origins of COVID. It was presented to Biden and he shut it down, while Biden himself knows clearly well enough that this was no accidental virus that was created from nature. So, of course, he's going to shut that down. Interesting. There's a bill. Josh Hawley created a bill in Congress that requires DNI, the Department of National Intelligence, the DNI, to release info on the origins of COVID. Now, this is going to be very interesting. The origins of COVID are out there, but they're classified. Hawley's bill in Congress, if passed, would require the DNI to be able to release it. Basically, what he's saying is that the DNI has the information of how COVID was created. And by that I mean man-made or manufactured. Remember, the genes that put these two types of things together, much like SARS, was genetically modified. It was not an authentic event from bats in a wet market. Some lab or super lab class level 4 laboratory created the virus, and then they dumped it out on the American people and the world to drive Trump out of office and to create the pandemic. It was created from agenda. The event 201 that was taking place the exact same day in October of 2019. We're seeing that now. Another thing, May 26th this week, May 26th in San Jose, there was a large fire. Now, the fire turned out to be where the VTA employee lived that was involved with the shooting the day before. The Transit Authority shooting. The person who did the shooting went back and then started this fire too. And inside, when they put the fire out, they found the ammo was found. Huge amounts of ammunition and whatnot. So I'm not sure myself if that was some kind of forced false flag that was shut down, for instance, or what was all meant to be this whole scenario. But that was supposed to be some big fireworks display. Firefighters put it out at the location, but they did found huge stockpiles of ammunition. Chuck Schumer, if you watch the press, C-SPAN, on May 28th on the Senate floor, Chuck Schumer basically breaks down and just cannot handle any more of these so-called lies that are going on. Everything Chuck Schumer said there was a lie itself. Remember these allegations for things that are going on, whether it's the Capitol riot that took place January 6th, orchestrated event, COVID, orchestrated event, the presidential election, orchestrated fraud. These things are all being done on purpose. What they're able to do is make it look like there's conspiracy folks out there that follow Trump, and the Republicans are all these people wielding conspiracy theories. Once again, that is not true. It could be farther from the truth. Each one of those things I brought up have already been proven. They are all fact. None of these things. The Capitol riot was nothing to do with QAnon and some people that went. It was a peaceful protest that escalated by some folks that were inserted into the crowd to cause the damage at the Capitol, to be able to blame it and pin it all on Donald Trump and his followers. Donald Trump, in fact, had asked for more of the National Guard there on location and more security, and were turned down by Pelosi. Pelosi later came back and says that it's Donald Trump's fault that all the riots broke out. So watch what's being said, watch what's being done on mainstream media and how this is all being twisted. And if you get lucky enough to talk to some friends, coworkers, or family relatives of yours who are asleep, you'll get the same looks in their eyes when you bring these kind of things up, because they all think that you're crazy. We've got to remember to turn off the TV. Turn off the TV. The lies that are being stoked on national television are unreal. Now, Facebook. Remember the whistleblower that came forward from Project Veritas last week, saying that they were going on purpose to track down people that were vaccine hesitant of taking the vaccine or even against it. So, the censoring that was done on the national platform, the worldwide global platform called Facebook, was being done on purpose. They were told to look after and go after these folks and suppress their message, suppress the narrative, and only push the narrative of people that were happy getting the jab, people excited about getting the jab, elderly people getting the jab, young children getting the jab. That's what they're focused on doing, pushing or promoting happy, smiling faces of people getting the jab. Anything else other than that didn't fit, they were suppressed. So this whistleblower comes forward. Facebook finds out who he is and fires him. Well, he comes out the next day saying, here's my name. I'm going public. My name is Morgan Kallman. Morgan Kallman says, I'm now a true whistleblower. I'm going to do this. I don't care what happens to me or my family or my life, or if I ever get a job again. Project Veritas goes out of their way then to create a charity account, a GoFundMe, to help raise some money for this individual who has now lost his job and is possibly in hiding. That's up to $318,000 already, Project Veritas with their GoFundMe to raise. So hats off to Morgan Kallman from Facebook, ex-employee of Facebook. He did say that there's a lot of white hats within the organization of Facebook and even Twitter. A lot of good people working there and are not making these decisions. The decisions to censor and to delete and boot people off of those platforms are made from above. And so we're seeing more and more people leave or at least blow the whistle like Morgan. Morgan, once again, hero, true hero in today's world. Also this week, there was an attempt to recall Governor Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. It ended up getting stalled. It was stalled, but a judge in the case said that the effort can proceed. They're doing nothing wrong. If the general public wants to recall the governor, they can. This also didn't make the news. Governor Whitmer in Michigan, one of the lead instigators of these corrupt states causing all this destruction in the democracy of the U.S. Michigan, one of them. They can certainly recall the governor. So they're going to move forward with that. I'm guessing that will not be in the local mainstream news. Also this week, Memorial Day. President Biden lays a wreath on the Memorial Day as of the typical fashion of how this is done on Memorial Day on that Monday. Well, someone compiled the last 5 presidents doing this exact same thing. The last 5 presidents, other than Biden, all went through the various steps of going through this procedure to lay the wreath on the unknown soldier in Washington, D.C. Mainstream media doesn't tell you that, how it's supposed to be done, how it's always been done, how it's officially been done. But they show President Biden walking up there and putting his hand on the wreath. It has nothing to do with the official ceremony. Now, the folks in the military are very precise on how these events get carried out, how the historical nature of these things get done on a year-to-year basis, down to the very steps, how it gets filmed, what the president does. The one Biden did on Monday didn't look anything like the ones that the 5 presidents prior did. Watch the video if you get a chance. There's many instances out there. This will not be on mainstream news. Biden, if people are calling him the fake president, could certainly be the case. The White House looks empty. I don't think anyone's even in there. And these fake inauguration events that we're seeing, the fake Memorial Day flowers being placed on the tomb of the unknown soldier aren't anywhere near how they're supposed to be carried out. And this is what folks mean when they say it's a fake presidency or a hoax. It's all being done for show. It's all part of Castle Rock. Studios in Hollywood that make fake events at the White House seem real. Is that what we're watching? Is that what we're seeing on national television? Could be. Well, all I know is that we're watching a movie. Now, the boards on 8kun this last week, May 29th, may have been compromised. They faced heavy attack on the internet boards. So, used to be 4chan, 8chan, now it's 8kun. They were under heavy attack. They may have even been compromised. There were some messages out from Code Monkey this week talking about that. Be careful what you see coming out of there because they may have been overtaken. And remember, there shouldn't be any need for this. Donald Trump's out of office. Why are all these attacks still happening? Why are people still going after QAnon? Why are people still going after 17? Why is there hatred for Trump? Is Trump still in power? Is Trump still the president? I think that's a fair question. There's a private school in Miami this week, Miami, Florida, let out a urgent newsletter urging staff not to get the vaccine. They are facing heavy backlash for saying this. Management has urged the staff not to get the jab. What they're saying, though, is keep in mind that the jab has not been, trials have not taken place. It's not authenticated. It's not been proven. It's not FDA approved. Everyone who's getting the jab right now is getting a test, a beta test, an example. And so there's been no clinical trials on these. Once that's done, I think this private school in Miami may say, you know what, go ahead and get it. We urge you to get it. But they're making a good point. They're saying, do not get the vaccine because client trials, the clinical trials, have not been performed on any of these. I don't think the general public gets that. The general public doesn't know. Mainstream media is not saying that every single animal that got the injection has died. They're not saying that. Fox News this week signed Kayleigh McEnany, the former press secretary for President Trump. Kayleigh McEnany signed to Fox News for a 6-month deal to be a spokesman and a newscaster there. Keep in mind, Fox News may be better than the other news stations, but they themselves are still Project Mockingbird involved with Fox News. So keep that in mind when you watch your Tucker Carlson and shows like that. They're probably more truth than any other networks, but there's still disinformation dropped into there. We'll see what happens there with Kayleigh McEnany. This week, a Houston Methodist hospital was sued. Pretty large hospital here. 117 employees of Houston Methodist Hospital sued the hospital for requiring that they get the jab. So this company requires they get the jab. 117 of the employees at a hospital, these are medical professionals, says, no thanks, I'm not going to do it. In fact, we're going to file a lawsuit against the hospital for forcing us to do it. Now, if you voluntarily want to get it, fine. That's great. Some of these 117 employees may even have gotten it or are interested in getting it. But what they're suing is the fact that they're making it mandatory. They're making it a requirement, meaning that if you don't get it, you can be terminated. This is what we're facing. This is the kind of thing we're up against. It's all these types of things that are requiring it. That's all I've got for this week. Remember to check out all of our articles and content at eternalaffairsmedia.com. And if you feel so led to do so, please click the links in the description to support us financially. We are an entirely independent media operation and end times ministry. We rely on your support to continue providing you excellent content. Go to eternalaffairsmedia.com and bookmark the site, as well as sign up for the email newsletter in case they ever take our social media pages down. Big thank you goes out to our patrons and those donating. Also, feel free to share these episodes. Get them out to family, friends, coworkers, and family, relatives, neighbors. Get them out. Once again, these are 30-minute shows. They're nothing too long. Listen to them in the car, while you're working out, anything to that effect. Today's June 2nd. My name is Dan Hennon. Thanks for listening.
America, do you hear our battle cry across America? We've got to rescue her. You know it's up to me and you to see the truth behind their lies. Don't change America. God bless America and the red, white.